guy is Caucasian. Now, the person interviewing them is, let's say, Caucasian, because typically that's the way it is in that kind of environment. That Caucasian person interviewing the black man and the white man is going to generally be biased towards his own race, just as most races are to some degree. Black people are no different. And it's not, I'm not saying that, I'm not talking about racism necessarily. I'm talking about a natural bias towards people of your own kind. And it is something that people don't like to talk about, but it is something that is real. So black people often, if a black person were interviewing this black man and this white man, and the exact same qualifications, the black man would probably be biased, whether he knows it or not. I'm saying it's necessarily a conscious decision. It could be subconscious, but it's probably biased towards the black man, probably because he's more comfortable with a black man, just like a white man, the same thing. Now, also, it could be that the white man could also be a bigot and be racist or whatever as well. So could the black man. So there's lots of reasons people choose people over other people based on race, whether you realize it or not. People are biased, and it is everybody. It depends on what culture you were raised in or whatever. And it doesn't mean, I'm not talking about racism, I'm talking about bias here, talking about someone that you may feel more proclivity towards than someone not of your same race or whatever. So anyway, because of this creates an issue in this country with equality and having same opportunities for everybody. Now, there's also, on the other side of the coin, there's also, beyond just bias, natural bias towards people of your own kind, there's also blatant racism and people who just don't like people who are different than they are because they've been conditioned to believe that they're less than they are, or they're not as good as they are because they're not like them, because that's what their parents taught them or their church taught them or society has conditioned them to believe that for whatever reason, or through magazines or TV. So someone like that is obviously going to do everything they can to prevent someone that they do not like or are racist against from achieving the same level of success. It's funny, not funny, there's an actual anecdote I can tell you. There was this guy in a car, in a convertible Mercedes, and he came up to a red light right next to a black man in a convertible Bentley, or a Bentley anyway. And they're up the same red light at the same time, right? The white guy looks over at the black guy and says, "Is that your car?" He's like, "Yeah, it's my car." And the white guy goes, he's like, "Fuck you." He's like, if you can have that, what the fuck am I doing here? I can't. What did he say? Oh, if you can have, fuck you. If you have a Bentley and I have a Mercedes, then what the fuck am I doing here? Why is it a white guy is driving a lesser car than the black guy, basically is what he was saying. I have nothing to shoot for anymore if I'm doing better than I am or whatever. So something like that. Anyway, so there's that kind of mentality. Just because someone has been taught that someone is better than someone else because of their race, they are somehow superior. Even though in reality there is no race. I've talked about this on my show a million times. I'll go into it in more detail in a little bit. But first I want to take this caller. We've got a caller from 252 who wants to say something. Let me get my headphones on here. Okay, 252, you're on the air.
Hey, it's Life Choices.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing good. I agree with what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, but I think it's not always about, color. I think sometimes it's about economics, economic hate too. Like, oh, I have more money than you, so if you have no money, why should I talk to you? I think it's that too. I don't look at it as about being racism. I think about economics too, because it's like even white people, if you're white and you live in the suburbs and you go downtown to go shopping, you don't want to be around someone who's lower class than you. Or be around one low. They might be same color, white, but they don't want to be nowhere lower. You feel where I'm coming from?
Yeah, but I have a problem with the whole class word, the word class. I understand what you're saying, and I understand what you're trying to convey, but I have to say this. Look, if you look at people, that's one of the part of the problems. People look at people as class-based. You're lower class, you're middle class, you're upper class, and they base it typically on socioeconomic background or, what they make, their money, whatever. People who have a lot of money are considered to be high class. People who have very little money are considered low class. And I understand that there's a class system in America, but it's not a defined one necessarily. It's something that we define ourselves. And so someone who is wealthy, financially wealthy, well off, whatever, and they don't want to shop, around people who have less money than they do because they consider them to be low class, obviously has a problem. Because they're not somebody who really understands the way the world works. They're living in a bubble, and they want to stay in that bubble. They don't want to live in the real world. The real world is everybody together, not just people.
I agree with you. And I understand. It's sad that people it's really like they have this no broad mind. They're all closed-minded. Mm-hmm. And I don't, even Black people don't like each other because, you have better hair than me, or you're lighter than me, and that is so sad because I went through that as a child because both of my parents are mixed, and I have good gray hair, and I was brown, but I'm brown skinned, but the teachers always looked at me and gave me more everyone gave me a little bit more because of my hair or how my mom looked. So and then the other kids looked at me bad. I always was bullied. I was chased home because how I looked. And it was sad because I got what I wanted, but at the same time I was treated different than other kids, and other kids didn't like that. And I was chased or teased, and that really hurt me as a person. Growing up, it sure had to work hard, but at the same time, who want to be teased and be bullied because they look different?
It's very true that, especially with the Black community, and not necessarily in the Black community always, but I mean, for example, if someone is biracial, let's say it's a Caucasian, let's say it's a classroom and it's a teacher, the teacher will sometimes consciously and sometimes subconsciously, because how they've been conditioned by society or their parents or whatever, will look at somebody who is lighter skinned and think that they're more intelligent than somebody who's darker skinned, simply because that's how they've been taught to believe. And it's not true. It has nothing to do with anything. The fact that their skin color has nothing to do with their intelligence level, obviously. But they're not treated equally because that teacher has a bias. And so is that fair? Absolutely not. That's not fair. And I think it's very difficult for people to look past. I mean, it's not difficult for me. I'm not trying to say I'm some saint or anything, but I think because I'm biracial, because my mom's white, dad's Black, that I've always had a really easy time of seeing everybody as a person and not seeing them as a race. When I see somebody and I meet somebody, I swear to God, I don't see this person as Black or white or whatever. I just see them as a person. And then the fact that they're white or Black doesn't even cross my mind. Honestly, I swear to you, it does not cross my mind. I mean, a lot of people, that's not the case.
Yeah, I do agree with you because when I was growing up, I was exposed to racism because when I was younger, I lived in a small town in North Carolina called Black Mountain, North Carolina. It was up in the mountains, actually in the mountains. So when I went to school, there was only 3 African American kids, and the whole school was predominantly white. So I was chose to be, I hung around mostly all the white kids. All the kids hung around me, wanted to play with me. But the other 2 Black kids didn't really have no one. And I understand why. I did not. Then when I moved to Philadelphia at 7, I seen why. Because I was always told, you have pretty hair. Or what do you mix with? Or, and I was always catered to a little bit more than an average child was. And I seen why I was different. And it's sad that people are like that. And I know that our society looks at, I call it a William Lynch mentality. If you ever heard of him, he was a plantation owner in the 1700s, and he was from Jamaica, but he went to America and had a speech, and he said that to keep Black people, in slavery, you have to have them against each other. Right. And I think that's what we are. We are against each other a lot. But if people don't know, we're not the only race that are against each other. If you went to England back in the 1930s and before that, Ireland was treated bad by the English.
Absolutely.
And, So they was treated bad. They couldn't even go to regular restaurants in England.
Right.
Scottish or Irish could not go to regular. They was treated trash.
Well, even when they came to the United States, the Irish were not treated well. They were looked at as trash too. Even here, at first, they were considered to be trash as well here.
And
so I know you're
that's
absolutely right.
true.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think, though, that the problem is that I think we have a society where people cannot see people as people, that they see people as race, and that they just see people as race or a socioeconomic background, like class, as you said, or whatever. They don't see people through, as who they are, like the content of their characters, in my case, So it's not about who someone is in terms of their race or what they drive or where they live, but everybody's so fucking superficial that they look at it like that. And I think people are uncomfortable. People who are racist generally are very uncomfortable with people that are different than they are because they don't understand them. They don't know them. And a lot of the times, most of the time, the reason why people in a small town a lot of the time will be racist because they're around everybody just like themselves. They're all around white people or all around the same kind of person. Mm-hmm. And so they don't understand people different than they are. But a lot of times the way to get over that, get through that, is to get to know someone different than you, whether they're white or black or Asian or Jewish or whatever they are. That's how you get past it,
And I agree with you because I always tell people when I was growing up, my parents opened me up to different races or let me be around different people because my mom is West Indies and Native American and my dad is white and Native American and black. So it was, if you've seen this, it's like, oh, my mom always said you can't judge no one because why can't you judge? Look at you. You are different, so how can you judge anyone? Don't accept everyone. All my friends growing up were mostly Asian, white, anybody. I wasn't taught to just, have only black friends or white friends.
Right.
No, I was open to different cultures. And at the same time, I think that's good to have that. And personally, I think everyone should have that because why should you judge? And being gay is harder. And that's what I wanted to state is, a lot of gay guys or gay people are very judgmental, and that is sad, but I understand why, too, because what we had to go through as people, we are judged all the time. So we judge because we're judged, but it's so sad that we do that. I mean, I just see that because, and it's even in the gay person, and it's so sad. I see this, not saying it's always true, but I've seen, it's very divided in the gay community. You'll see mostly white gay guys together, and you'll see gay black guys together. And that's so sad, and that's very divided. I don't like it. I mean, I never did.
Actually, I want to discuss that in a minute, but let me get this caller first and see what he says. Take him line. 251, you're on the air. Well, actually, no, you're not. Hold on. There you are, 251 the air.
Hey, I'm not a he, I'm a she.
Oh, hi, she. You must be Ray Ray.
Yes.
I recognize your voice. How are you?
What do you mean you recognize my voice?
You were on Desert Rose's show. You were on Desert Rose's show.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
What do you have to say about what we're talking about tonight?
Well, what I would like to say is, and it's kind of funny because I actually have just been talking about this today, as a matter of fact. I stated today, whether it's right or wrong, is it not human nature to judge? I think the difference between, oh my gosh, it's such a taboo thing. You should never judge, never judge, never judge. It is human nature to judge. Whether it be right or wrong, it's human nature. And for those people that say they don't judge, well, they're just lying. And I'm not just talking about race. I'm talking about everything. If somebody... Let's say you're at work and somebody walks in and they've got clothes caked in dirt and you can smell their body odor from a mile away. You can tell they haven't had a shower from the hair and everything for at least 2 weeks. You might think, well, what's going on with this person? There's going to be a slight judgment there, to say that you don't judge. Because, honestly, I've had a friend of mine tell me.
I have to say this, though. This is the difference for me, is that, yes, everybody passes judgment based on what their perceptions are of people. Of course, people have judgments. The difference is one person look at someone, for example, that person that walked into the room and they smelled